Hello everybody, welcome to another Sparking Interest from the ASFP. Something a little bit different today. I'm joined by Steph Sheppard from the organisation Women into Construction. Some of you may have heard of Women into Construction already. What you may not know is that the ASFP joined Women into Construction, and Women into Construction joined the ASFP earlier this year with the sole purpose of improving engagement between our members and Women into Construction. With the sole purpose of allowing our members to reach a wider audience when they're looking to recruit, helping our members with retention of women in the industry, improving their chances of promotion, closing the gender pay gap. Because the one thing that I think we all agree on is that if you ignore the opportunity of bringing women into your business, you're ignoring probably 50% or more of the talent pool of the working population of this country. So I can assure you this is not a box ticking exercise. We are not doing any of the things that I think the kids call it virtue signalling or anything else. This is a very serious subject about how we as an association improve our engagement with what is a significant part of the workforce. So Steph Sheppard, welcome to the ASFP sofa.
Thanks very much, Mike. I'm delighted to be here.
How does it feel to be on the sofa?
Yeah, I know. I'm envy of lots of your members to be sat with you today on this sofa.
There is a queue of people that want to come onto the sofa.
Yeah, so I feel very lucky.
Very lucky to be on the sofa.
I'm sure lots of people are very jealous.
I think Max has vacuumed it before he came as well, so hopefully it'll be all right. So, Women into Construction is an organisation that's it's a few years old now, isn't it? And there's you and a varying number of you in the team that have been working very hard on engaging with potential employers and trying to marry those to potential employees through various ways and methods and various levels of engagement. So I think today what we want to talk about, I'm going to put myself in the shoes of one of our members.
Okay.
And I'm going to try and ask the sort of questions that our members would want to ask of you in terms of how they engage with you. But moreover, what you quite often find is that they don't ask the right questions because maybe they don't necessarily know what questions to ask. You only know what you know. Yeah. It's the things you don't know that clearly you need to understand.
It's all really about breaking those preconceptions and myth busting, should we say? And
we had a very myth busting conversation earlier, just before Max started rolling the cameras, about something that's quite a recent. It's not. Completely the wrong phrase, but something that's become more aware, which is how companies support ladies who are going through the menopause, and how that is companies should start to see look at policies on how they do that. And I think you and I both agreed that if companies can accommodate the entire workforce to work from home or be flexible during a 2-year COVID pandemic, then I'm sure they can manage it with supporting somebody that is going through what actually is a very natural process in life. So that's the sort of type of thing that obviously we're going to talk about. So in terms of Women into Construction, just give us a little bit of a potted history on how long you've been going, what your core and key strategies are at the moment, what your future hopes are. And then we can then sort of start to sort of dissect that, and I'm going to sort of try and get something from you that sort of enables our members to improve their engagement with you.
Okay, yeah. So Women into Construction has been going now over 13 years. It actually started as a concept on the Olympic Build back in 2012, whereby my managing director was tasked with addressing the gender imbalance within construction sites. That was funded by the CITB. Following the success of that programme, further programmes rolled out in London, funded by contractors. CITB were one of our biggest funders. Obviously expanded then into Cambridgeshire. I myself am based in the Midlands, Essex, and then again we've touched upon COVID and lockdown and restrictions. Since then, actually, our offering has gone crazy because we've developed virtual work experience programs. So we are now kind of operating, it tends to be me, the flexi project manager that does programs and recruitment and engagement with people nationwide now. So yeah, that in a kind of nutshell is where we started at the Olympic Park build back in 2012. Well, that was when it was completed, and yeah, running different programs for different contractors to address the gender imbalance, which incorporates a lot of different things. We offer women initially advice, information, guidance, looking at their transferable skills, their qualifications, look at potential roles in the industry and the wider industry that could be potentially for them. We then put them through construction related training, and that varies really for maybe what contractors in the area want. For example, traffic marshalling is a massive one in the Midlands at the moment, and regardless of whether it's a home building site, one of the HS2, you know, the rail network, everybody needs traffic marshals. So that's a real in-demand job at the moment, so we put them through that. Their level 1 health and safety card to get their CSCS card. And then ultimately it's all about seeing if the position that they think they want is right for them. So then we broker work experience with our contractors and members, and that can vary from anything from 2 to 12 weeks, where the women either just does work experience in one particular job role or does a bit of a rotation in different departments, different sectors, with the hope then of brokering into a full-time job, an apprenticeship or higher level education. And in doing that, we help contractors address the gender imbalance, kind of widen their talent pool, close the skills gap, and yeah, try and, you know, close that together.
I think it's an interesting view that I think where women into construction came from was the Olympics, and
yes.
I think from what the research I've done on it, your engagement tends to be, and correct me, and
yes.
I'll happily be corrected in front of the camera. We don't need to edit it out. But your engagement tends to be more with the sort of tier 1, tier 2 main contractors, as opposed to the sort of different groups within the specialist subcontractor areas,
yeah.
which may be a bit more pointed, a bit more specialised, and maybe the field of opportunity is a bit more narrow. But of course, that's where ASFP membership sort of sits. You know, we do have large members. You know,
yeah.
we have, you know, Kingspan, Rockwall. You know, larger companies, Etex. You know, they're all large manufacturing companies of materials that the feature in passive
yes.
fire. When it comes to the sort of contractor side, our members are effectively specialist subcontractors.
Mm-hmm.
They are specialist subcontractors, service providers within passive fire. And the skills for that, to work in that industry, is quite specific.
Yes, very niche.
It is quite niche.
Yeah.
And I think the question it raised in my mind is, and I level the same question to myself, because at 39 plus years old, I didn't think I'd be sat in Coventry talking to you, you know, with my sidekick Max, talking to you about women into construction or talking to other people about passive fire.
Yes.
You know, I didn't say to my careers advisor in 1980, I want to work in passive fire. Yeah. I didn't even know what passive fire was, you know, at the time. So I think it's one of those. What we want to try and do is create choice by giving people an understanding of what we do, because our members and the association, because we have a training program, can upskill people. Yeah. Our members upskill their employees all the time. The time. It's a continuous process, and it'll actually increase because the Building Safety Bill, one of the areas the Building Safety Bill covers is competency.
Yep.
And not just competency, and I think this is the bit that people miss. It's evidencing competency. So you've not only got to do the course, do the exam and pass the exam, you have to then evidence that in an audit trail of competency of operatives working on that particular building project, doing the work that you have been employed to do, and who that company advertises or markets itself as being an expert in. So there is a significant step change in what, and you'll hear, I'm sure you've probably already heard it, this thing called the golden thread. The golden thread effectively is about evidencing things. It's about evidencing the performance and capabilities of a product. It's about evidencing the performance and capabilities of somebody installing that product. It's about evidencing that in an audit trail to the owners and occupiers of the building and any facilities management companies that come along after. Going way back up the supply chain, it's about the people with design responsibility, as in architects and engineers, evidencing that they have carried out the correct level of due diligence in terms of design and procurement or specification of products. Main contractors will have to evidence that they have procured in accordance with the design, and if they've swapped it out, equal or approved. I can feel the hairs going up on the back of my neck when I say
when
that.
you talk about this.
Equal or approved. They have to evidence that it is equal and equal to what was the original specified product. And that is a conversation we've already had with main contractors, is procurement. If somebody swaps out one product or system for another, how are they qualified to make that purchase decision without it solely being a commercial decision? And there was some, and when I posed that question in a number of forums, it was hard for them to answer that it wasn't a commercial decision. So that's the golden thread. So I think from the point of view of our members, of course, would look for, and there is a bit of an industry merry-go-round, and you find it in every industry. Myself and Max were at the FIT show yesterday, the NEC, which is the Door and Window Show, and I left that industry in 2006, 2007. And lo and behold, 15, 17 years later, I noticed there were faces from my past. I'm not going to say haunting me, but it was it was coming in close, and that's fine. I mean, it's not a criticism, but there is clearly, and these people had moved around 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 companies in that period of time. So there are people that stay in these industries, in a specific industry, and they advance themselves, and they develop themselves. And so we do have a bit of a merry-go-round where maybe somebody leaves one pacifier company and moves to another pacifier company. But of course, that's not really solving the problem of bringing in new talent.
Exactly.
And a thing called succession planning, which is more on my mind about myself, probably, more than it ever has been. But succession planning is important because none of us are getting any younger. We're all getting older. Businesses need to grow and develop, and they need to not backfill, but they need to bring in underneath, people that are eventually going to, step sideways or step down, and they need to do that, and they need to upskill those people. So I think one of the things our members probably, so putting myself in the shoes of an ASFP member, I think the first question would probably be, is how do I engage? How do I get involved with Women into Construction?
Okay, so predominantly you could become a member. Our member levels vary from silver, platinum and gold. Did that completely reverse, but as it follows normally, silver, gold, platinum. And the benefits have a range of different perks, starting with using our logo, and just in doing that on your recruitment documents, any marketing that you're producing, you'd be really surprised at the level of women that would come forward for roles, as opposed to, say, if you'd posted the exact same advertisement, say, a month before, just by putting our logo to show that it's on your agenda, that you're working in collaboration with us, you're very inclusive of women, you're looking to widen your talent pool. It would help with your recruitment if you're looking to fill new positions. We can always support you with this recruitment materials, your marketing material. If you're doing any, again, like you said, your members vary from like one level to another, but bid writing, if you have to report on any corporate social value. Again, it's not really probably relevant to your members, but Section 106 agreements on specific sites, we can help you with that. We can look at obviously utilising the women that we have on our database that we constantly have coming through to push through to your vacancies. Again, if you become a member, the link from your vacancies page on your website is put on the WIC one, so anyone registering with WIC as an introduction, really, they're always signposted to that. So these women straight away are going to be signposted to your job. Definitely follow us on our social media channels. We've just hit 10,000 on LinkedIn just this week.
10,000 followers?
Yes.
So there's a little thing I'll do, and you won't see anything at the moment because this is the magic of editing.
Yes.
But you see, and I stole this from Reese, who's our marketing, who occasionally appears on these things. He does occasionally ones. So when we do this, you see, Max will put the website on the screen for everybody. So when you see us doing this, it looks ridiculous at the moment, doesn't it? So, but it'll
pop up.
It'll be in context when it gets edited. So you just mentioned, and I'm a man who loves an acronym or a number, having spent years in standards and stuff. So what is this? You said Section 106, was it?
Yeah, Section 106 agreement. So this is kind of main contractors and developers, if they are granted planning permission for a site or a redevelopment of particular lands, the local councils and authorities will set certain stipulations. How if we're giving you this opportunity to develop the land or build on it, you've got to give back to the local community, i.e. that could be work experience, building a playground, creating green space. So a lot of these projects will have Section 106 agreements associated with it. So that's obviously when we come in and we can deliver tailored bespoke employment programmes. Obviously we're women into construction, so we do that for women in the local area, and yet work with contractors to kind of fulfil those obligations.
Okay. Yeah, that sort of makes sense actually, because there's a place near Coventry I drive through to come here called Borsall Common. Now anyone local to the area that would sort of say, well, that's the posh part of Coventry. I have no opinion on this, not being from Coventry. So I'll leave that for the locals to decide. So they're building a new housing development on some fields opposite some previous housing, and at the bottom of it they're building this pond.
Right. Okay.
And I had to stop in some traffic, and the guy stopped me because they were moving some stuff. And I said, "Is that like an open?" I think I said, "Is that an open drain or something?" He was a bit offended. He went, "No," he said, "It's a nature pond. It's part of our."
Probably had like green crested notes or something on site.
So they had to develop this. They have to develop this pond as part of the allowance for building the houses in the first place. And most of the houses look well outside of my price range. So that sort of makes sense. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. So thank you for educating me.
No problem. So we veered a little bit off tangent.
Well, we do, but this is the beauty of podcasts, because 90 degrees is the best angle to have.
Yeah.
So that's how people can engage with you, so they can join as a member. So if I was again to keep myself in the ASFP members' shoes, I suppose the question would be is what's the value of getting involved by virtue of how do I engage with and give myself the possible opportunity to recruit new talent. And I think that's one of the hardest things to do, because every recruitment agent will tell you that you need them, and nothing else will do. And of course you need them at 20% of starting salary. But of course there are other ways of doing it. LinkedIn, Indeed, these other platforms. A lot of people engage with those types of things now. So if I was putting myself in the members' shoes again, where is the sort of core value of getting involved? How do I improve my chances? And I'm going to take it outside of. We're not going to mention women into construction, but what I'm saying is that's a given. But within that talent pool, there are people that could potentially be of value to me as a resource, as an asset, and therefore I want to recruit them. So I don't know how to start that process. So yes, I've got involved. I've become a silver member. I use the logo. That in itself, it's interesting what you said about if women see the logo, they feel more empowered to apply because the environment, that logo says that the environment is conducive with that company being inclusive. And, okay, and that in itself is probably significantly valuable. But beyond
for something so small, it actually interprets quite a big picture.
It does, and it's the power of the logo, isn't it? And we changed the ASFP logo, and that I think empowered it somewhat because we felt that it needed refreshing. So how then, if I'm a pacifier, subcontractor, or possibly a manufacturer, and I have specific job roles that I'm looking to fulfil, how do I go? Is there a platform that I can advertise them on through Women into Construction?
Well, like I said, as a member, you automatically are guaranteed a link to your vacancies page on our website. So we've got a members page, and you just literally click on the members logo and it takes you to their vacancies page. But what I would suggest is, you know, a lot of your members will operate nationwide, but let's say if they're particularly focused in a region, or they've got a job that they're looking to fill in a region, hook up with your local project manager. Like I said, we work kind of nationwide, even though we do have predominant areas, we do kind of cover nationwide and do help women nationally. Kind of buddy up with your project manager, and they will kind of maybe have in the back of their head somebody that would be right for that role. Like I said, we're not a recruitment agent. I'm not here to say, we can help you just by, you know, your association with us. I can help you fill this job and, you know, turn over your women employees by tenfold. That's not what I'm saying. I think with us, because we're so bespoke, and that's what sets us apart from maybe other organisations, it's a relationship that we have with the women. We're very much, you know, some of our women do come from disadvantaged backgrounds, have different barriers that they need to face. We do kind of act as a bit of a hand holder. And again, that's not saying one size fits all, but, you know, so some women do have great transferable skills that they're looking to bring over to this industry. Again, it's a little bit different with your kind of members, because it is quite a niche market that, you know, they might be looking for somebody with a specific qualification, or that's got specific training to bring across to their role. But I think, it's all about that really, knowing, like, we know our women, they're not just, you know, a name and that they could fill this job and they could fill this job. We're not a recruitment agency. It's having that kind of one-to-one bespoke service between not just the woman, but to our members as well. Even if you don't tell us as jobs, sometimes you might think, oh, a woman would fit brilliantly there. Or have you got any work experience opportunities? Or it's not just about maybe the end goal to get them to employment. Sometimes it is filling that gap. And so I'd say, although ultimately you'd have the link on the website, I think it is making those one-to-one relationships with your project managers.
If a company joins, they can actually create their own portal, their page on your site.
On our website.
It's a bit like LinkedIn, isn't it, where you create your own sort of profile, and you can put your jobs on there that you're looking to advertise. And so you mentioned that you know, maybe some of the possible people that you could be recruited may not have the specific qualifications. I think it's an interesting statement, because actually the pacifier industry, probably until quite recently, like a lot of these sort of niche industries within construction, outside of the requirements of the performance of the products, where actually there wasn't a lot of governance to say who was qualified and who wasn't, you know, who was professional and who wasn't. I mean, we all like to think we're all professional. We all like to think we do the right thing. Interesting.
But who governs that?
And the Fire Safety Bill works on the basis of SCEP. So SCEP is skills, knowledge, experience and behaviour. And skills, knowledge and experience drives behaviour. The difficulty is if you only work in one of those relating to the behaviour, if you've got skills, you may not have the knowledge or the experience. If you've got knowledge, you may not have the skills and the experience, and if you've got experience, you may not have the skills and the knowledge. And I think one of the things that came out of that was that you've got people who have been doing the same job for 20 years, and they have the experience. The sad reality of it could be, and I say could be, that person's been doing that job wrong for 20 years. Because they've not improved their skills and knowledge. And there hasn't been a level of governance to, you know, there's not been a quality scheme to support that. You know, all of our members have to be third-party certified, and they have to go through what we call the member requirements of the competency pathway. That means that their employees have to do certain levels of ASFP training to maintain their membership as a company member. So there is opportunity to support anyone coming into this industry who maybe comes in at ground zero, but at a low base level of specific knowledge or skills or education. Because actually the reality is unless you're somebody from the industry on the industry merry-go-round, you are going to come in and not have any
completely great
knowledge from it. And I, you know, my career path was very eclectic. You know, it was music, motor industry, door and window industry, smoke and fire curtain industry,
Okay.
passive
That
fire.
was the kind of
And,
route.
you know, why would you employ someone that can play the guitar and knows a lot about cars into the door and window industry? I have no idea. But I did quite well in the door and window industry. I did it for 8 years and then went into the smoke. Didn't even know what a smoke and fire curtain was. But because there was a similarity between the door and window industry and the smoke and fire curtain industry, there was a synergy.
There was that synergy, yes.
And then because of smoke and fire curtains, I ended up here. So somebody once described it as consistently failing upwards. And I would probably be inclined to agree with him. So
mentioning no names.
No, I shan't mention his name.
Yeah.
No, he is still around, but past retirement. Well, I don't even know what retirement age is now. So I think one of the opportunities is it may not be that we all have this sort of utopian idea of what a potential new employee looks like, but of course the reality is quite often something different. The reality is sometimes you don't know until you see it.
Yeah.
You may have an idea of the person, or you may have an idea of their experience, and the person that you recruit may be somebody that doesn't fit that mental sort of that mind's eye view of what you think it should look like. So I think for our members, our members have the opportunity to train them.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing I would say is that I think anyone who wants to get engaged with women into construction from the passive fire sector point of view shouldn't fall into the trap of thinking, well, this person has got to have passive fire knowledge, because most of the people I come across who come into this industry from are new, don't, because they've come from somewhere else.
Fresh.
So I think we need to try and break out of that,
and embrace them when they get here to retain them. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's actually, thanks for the segue.
And
that's brilliant.
Male or female.
Yeah, retention. See, we should do this again. So retention. I think one of the strategic objectives I think for inclusion is of course retention.
Yeah.
A lot of companies allow people to work from home. Certainly, the pandemic has still created allowances from companies that never existed before. I'm a little bit old-fashioned probably. Everyone should be in the office 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, half a day for Christmas, one lump of coal on the fire in January. But younger people don't necessarily want to do that. And I remember talking to an architect who was designing a particular office building, and it was for the Bishopsgate area. Of London, and he said that environment is massively important when building a building for a client. So this was a very large insurance company that was having this building built, and I said, well, what do you mean by environment? And he said, think of it this way. He said, if you've got young talent who you want to recruit, their working environment is far more important to them than it is to our generation.
Yes.
I started in an office building that was minus 50 degrees in the winter and plus 50 degrees in the summer, and everything was grey and made of glass. So they design and construct buildings which account for the importance of environment,
of the surroundings.
Of the surroundings. So how we retain people now is a completely different dichotomy to what it was even probably 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
And not only that, but of course it's about how we close the gender pay gap. And I still don't understand personally, and this is just me, I don't understand why there is such a thing as a gender pay gap.
Yeah.
Somebody should be employed, the right person should be employed to do that job, and the pay for that job should reflect that job, not the person that's doing it. Yeah. So I do struggle with that. I don't understand why we have a thing like a gender pay gap. I really don't, and that's not being overtly
in the
sort
society that we live in.
No, I think that's just common sense. I don't think you have to be, you don't have to be sort of politically sensitive to the idea. It's just common sense. You advertise a job. That job is pays X.
Is that bracket?
Yeah. So, what's Women into Construction's position on how do you support companies to improve retention, closing the gender pay gap?
I suppose we could look at this twofold on the terms of retention, but then also retention whilst progressing. So I think retention, it's all about the company mentality and their own ethos and values. So I think, and again, we obviously set up this. It was one of the things that we kind of brought in through lockdown was remote mentoring because we couldn't deliver work experience programs, we developed this remote mentoring, whereby we match women with mentors to kind of look at their career path, look at different roles and how they could progress in the industry. But you could bring that back to the company in its entirety. So, you had a woman or even a man, because we're talking about retention, and, you match them with somebody, of a more senior level or kind of board level, depending on the size of your company, even if you may be a company of 5, as long as I think that individual is not necessarily mentored with their line manager, I still think it could work. And that touches as well upon mental health. We spend so much time in the workplace, whether that is at home, working from home, or in an actual office. We do spend the majority of our lives full-time work, doing a job. And it's about mentoring, really, and looking forward to keeping them in the company, looking at ways in which they can develop, looking at their individual training plan. Because I think sometimes if you've got a line manager, that they do kind of keep you on the path, keep you obviously doing what you're supposed to do. But I think a mentor can kind of come into it from a different angle. So I think that'd be definitely one of the ones we'd suggest is mentoring to kind of, and again, whatever sex you are, male or female, mentoring within that company to kind of, just have a chat sometimes, if you've got a bit of worries, concerns, work related or personal, sometimes it is just good to have that chat and feel included and that you've got a voice. So mentoring's really good. Also for retention, networking, looking at the wider industry, letting them progress, giving them training, giving them set targets. And then with progression, we actually have developed a programme called Moving On Up, whereby we look at women in lower paid roles in construction. So again, looking at the gender pay gap issues, whereby companies engage with us. It's a bit of a 3-strand. So you have the woman on a lower paid wage, you have their supervisor or line manager, and then you have like a senior member in the HR team that can kind of really enforce the changes. And we put them on like a 6-month training course, looking at where they're at the moment, what jobs they can do, put them through specific training. We do confidence building, we do diversity and inclusion workshops with our specialist for the kind of strand 2, strand 3 supervisors, line managers, to look then to progress them into their next role within construction. So I suppose it's twofold really. You could look at the mentoring element as well as the Moving On Up progression programme that we also offer.
Okay, so and I think that's important for our members, because quite often they people get involved with certain activities or certain schemes or events, and they don't really understand that. They know they should get involved with it, but quite often they don't know how to get involved with it. And I think it's important that our members, can access that level of support and understanding, because the one thing our members are good at is doing what they do. Well. So I can name various. I'll give a couple of name checks. To we've got a couple of our contractor members spring to mind. So these are specialist subcontractors in passive fire. So there's CLM Fireproofing. So that's a company that is a member of ours. They are very good at what they do. Checkmate Fire, same again. We have a number. Quell Fire as a manufacturer. E-Tex. They're all very, very good companies at what they do. But certainly if they've grown from a small SME to a medium SME, quite often these companies go through growing pains where, they suddenly realise one day that they actually do need a HR person, because the managing director or the finance director is suddenly brought into the world of HR.
They just haven't got time.
They don't have the skills, they don't have the knowledge to deal with
resources,
it. And they don't have the resources, so they'll either bring in consultants or they try and sort of fudge their way through it themselves.
Exactly. which leads to a whole can of worms.
Yeah, it does. Yes, I have first-hand experience of cans of worms and various things to do with HR. So I think it's important that our members get reassurance if they want to get engaged and get involved with Women into Construction. That there is a clear sort of, I suppose, menu of support structures there that actually says this isn't just about recruitment. And you rightly said you're not a recruitment agency. You are an association that's main drive is to increase women's occupation in the construction industry. Change the face of construction. I mean, the face of construction is a pretty gnarly old face, really, isn't it? so it could probably do with it could do with improving a bit. Yeah. Whenever I think of the face of construction, Nick Knowles from DIY SOS springs to mind.
He seems to be.
He seems to be the face of
spokesperson,
construction, doesn't he? With his hard hat with Nick written on the front. Apologies, Nick, if you ever watch this. So I think it's important that they actually have a clear understanding of how they engage, and it's important that they have a clear understanding of what they get from this. Okay, they get the opportunity to employ women, but it's beyond that, isn't it? Because employing somebody is just the start of the journey. It's just the start of the process.
Exactly.
And as an association, we would be keen to understand, and I think you and I agree. We agreed off camera that the general construction industry as a whole has a pretty poor record in terms of the gender gap, the gender pay gap, retention.
Yes.
How we support women either through maternity, through pregnancy and maternity, or as we talked earlier on about the menopause and what that means. Companies can support the entire workforce over the last 2 years because of COVID. I'm sure they can support individuals with their different lifetime challenges that they go through. So the reason for either having a gender pay gap or being reluctant in recruiting women into certain roles is I think is significant. One of the positives, and please don't take this the wrong way because it probably will be, somebody will comment. One of the positives of COVID is that it's changed all of these perceptions. It's eroded them to the point that they're no longer a reason or an excuse.
Exactly.
That you shouldn't do the right thing or you shouldn't do something to accommodate somebody. So outside of that, what else would you give me a reason or a couple of reasons why an ASFP member should join or get involved with Women into Construction outside of the glaringly obvious stuff that's in neon lights? What other value as a company could they get from working with you?
Well, the social value.
Social. Here we go.
For every pound spent on a WIC association, £6 of social value is generated.
Okay.
And that was our recent. I say recent, probably with lockdown. You kind of lose 2 years, so I'm probably maybe going back 3 years.
I'm keeping those years, by the way.
Our social,
I'm knocking them off my age.
Your age. I don't blame you. So our social return investment report, demonstrated that for every pound that you invest in WIC, you get £6 back of social investment.
So, Steph, thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Mike, on the infamous sofa.
On the infamous sofa, yes. Infamy is always better than fame, I
find.
So, thanks for coming in. Thanks for talking to us about women into construction. What I would say is, of course, to any of our members, if you're interested in engaging with Women into Construction, who we will promote over the coming year, we've still got a couple of trade shows to do. We're at FireX next week, so that sort of gives you a bit of an indication as to when we're recording this. We've got FireX, so you may be watching this after FireX. We've got London Build, we've got our awards later in the year and our AGM and various other regional events going on. We will be promoting Women into Construction through our new website and those events. So if you do want to engage with them, then contact us and we'll forward you your details on, or contact them directly when I do that, and hopefully Max can line it up. From all of us here at the ASFP and Steph from Women into Construction, thanks for watching this one. I hope it's been some value to you, and all I'll say is don't limit yourselves to your talent pool by not investigating every opportunity to get the best person for the job. Steph, thanks very much.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
No problem.
Thank you.